and welcome to the Digital CxO podcast. I'm Amanda Razani, and I'm excited today to have James McManamey. He is the Director, Go-to-Market Strategy at Verint. How are you doing?
Amazing. Great to see you again.
Happy to have you on our show. Can you share a little bit about Verint? What services does Verint provide, and then maybe your background there?
Yeah, absolutely. So Verint, we are a CX automation company. So we provide kind of an end-to-end open platform that helps companies, connect, support, and engage with their customers. My background, I really focus on the employee experience side of things, which is kind of often an overlooked part of customer experience. Like we tend to focus on, how our customers and automation and how we kind of really talk to them, but we sometimes forget about who's doing the talking, who the face of our brands are and who's really representing us in those, those really pivotal interactions. And that's where I focus, the way that how employees, connect with us and then how we can support them in connecting to our customers.
Wonderful. So you are definitely the person to talk to today about our topic, which is workplace employee well-being and work-life balance. And we seem to still be struggling in this area. I think ever since COVID, it's been more of a struggle. So, share a little bit about, from your experience, what are you seeing as some of the key concerns and issues we're still facing when it comes to work life balance and employee satisfaction?
Yeah, I think COVID did an interesting thing here because in some ways it kind of highlighted and emphasized, something that had been there for a while, which was this disengagement, this dissatisfaction, this kind of need or desire from especially younger generations for greater flexibility at work. And I think the thing that came out of COVID was that a lot of organizations were kind of forced to really rethink how flexible they could be because they didn't have a choice. They were kind of forced to go work from home and to really rethink ways of working. And in some ways, that's kind of opened their minds to what's possible. Um, I think that the challenges we still see are really about how do we find that balance between giving our people the flexibility they keep asking for whilst continuing to deliver for our customers. And it's kind of that give and take, that push and pull that, a lot of senior leadership is struggling with. And, the kind of rethinking of our people from a cost center to an opportunity space, and then how do we then empower them and kind of unlock the ROI that we can if we focus on the flexibility. So it's kind of it's an interesting space where it's really tools, process, technology, but it's people, and it's kind of that trust and the relationship between organizations and their people.
And so, from your experience working with companies, are you seeing that when employees are more satisfied at work and feel that they have a better work life balance, the productivity gains are pretty significant?
Substantial. I think not only are they gain substantial, but people, they stay around. So we get longer tenured employees who are more engaged and are happy to be there and do a better job representing our brands and talking to our customers. And when we think about the kind of the way that work is changing, we're finding that a lot of the kind of low skill, low impact interactions, they're the first to be automated away. And so what happens, the stuff that gets left to our people becomes more impactful, more complicated, but greater opportunity. And as a result, it becomes kind of more and more important to have those long tenured, well experienced, well trained, engaged employees that want to be there, because they have the opportunity to make a significant difference.
Absolutely. So I imagine there's probably a bunch of different solutions, kind of a blend of solutions. One is probably better leadership and communication, and maybe allowing employees to voice what they need. So maybe we could talk about that. The second would be technology solutions and tools, which I'm sure you can share a little bit about that as well. So, but first, let's talk about what are you experiencing? What tips do you have for business leaders as far as better communication and maybe having some employee meetings to share their concerns?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first one is we want to be listening. We want to make sure there are channels that that people feel they can voice their needs, so that we are really making sure that we are, capturing the sentiment from our frontline workforce and that is filtering up correctly. So making sure we have those, those regular channels, those methods of communication so that people do feel, like they can share their experience and that their needs are being met. Whether that's through, formal kind of, surveys and interview processes, or whether it's more informal, making sure that, your frontline team leads and managers feel empowered to, filter up the feedback that they're getting from the frontline. And the flip side of that is when you do that, you really need to make sure that you're then acting on what you're hearing. Because there's nothing worse than kind of opening the conversation and saying, we're here to listen to you and look at all these channels to kind of tell us what you're thinking. And for that to then, go into a black box. So the second piece of advice would be to make sure you're being really transparent about what you're doing with that feedback. And it's, even if you're not able to address it all, being very clear about why. We hear you. This is what we're working towards. These are the things that we're struggling with, and being really as open as possible with your workforce, to make sure that if they've trusted you by opening up about their experiences, they feel like they're kind of getting that some of that respect back.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I imagine it would just add to the frustration if they finally feel that they're getting a chance to be heard and then nothing's done and they're like, well, that was pointless, not going to attend any more of those.
Absolutely, like they've taken a step forward. They've put themselves out there. They've opened up about their lives, their concerns, the things that they need. Um, and to then have the kind of door shut or to hear nothing back, you're going to be in a worse place than if you never did anything in the first place. And you hear about that sometimes occasionally, right? That people will take the first step about, right, we're going to be open, we're going to have these dialogues, and that's kind of the end of it. We've all been part of these, these implementations, these projects that kind of kick off and don't close out. And I think that is a real risk. If you're going to open the door, really be committed to seeing it through.
Definitely. So now let's talk about some tools. And are there some technology solutions that can help companies with a better work life balance for their employees?
Yeah, absolutely. And we ran some research, uh, middle of the year. It feels like yesterday, but that was a while ago already. And we're asking this kind of specific question about particularly work life balance and schedule flexibility, and kind of what the challenges were. And the first one was what we already spoke about around that kind of need to balance delivering for customers and meeting the needs of our employees. And the second one that wasn't far behind was technology. People being held back by their technology platforms. Um, and I think there's kind of a historic reason for that. A lot of the technology was built around this kind of very rigid idea of scheduling. We treat people like resources, and we're focused on efficiency and maximizing our allocation of resources against demand. And it was kind of a very industrialized approach to people. Um, and so I'd say that on the technology side, AI has really opened the door to being able to not necessarily force you to replace your entire technology stack, but to be able to augment it, to be able to, um, you know, bring in AI bots and point solutions that allow you to enhance flexibility without replacing your entire stack. Whereas, in the past, kind of building customized schedules and being able to respond to agent preferences in real time would require, whole teams of workforce analysts and planners and a lot of heavy lifting. There is now the ability to leverage AI to kind of automate a lot of that stuff. And I think sometimes we kind of focus on, AI's interaction with the customer and automating customer interactions, but it's actually much larger than that. There's ways to scale back office operations that allow you to do things, like unlock schedule flexibility that just would not have been, you know, viable in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, contact centers have such rigorous schedules because, they've got hundreds of employees that they need on the floor to make sure they can manage all the calls. And so they need a way that allows them still to leave if there's an emergency and not feel stressed out or upset because they're stuck at work.
Absolutely, and I think that you kind of nailed it there, right? It's about the feeling. So it's not just about, you know did I get what I needed? It's what was that process? What was that relationship between me and my organization on the way to the outcome? Was it a kind of black box process where I don't know what actually happened? Was it something where I really had to, you know, beg my teammates to swap shifts or kind of open up my life to my organization and really defend why I needed some flexibility? Even if I got to the outcome, if I've gone through that experience, how do I feel about my organization? And do I feel trusted and valued, or do I go, hang on, if this is what it took to get the thing that I desperately needed to take care of my personal responsibilities, how am I going to feel about representing the brand going forward? And I think that's part of this, right? Can you find the technology to enable that experience, but also how are you packaging it? How are you talking to your people when you're rolling this out? Are you providing the right narrative about why you're doing this, how you're empowering people? We're all working together to deliver these outcomes for our customers, but we trust each other and we have this kind of relationship. Um, so I think that the kind of narrative is important too when rolling out any technology solution to frontline staff.
Definitely. Well, if there was one key takeaway you could leave our audience with today, what would that be?
I think it would be to push the boundaries, to really think about, you know, are there ways to unlock flexibility for our people in our environment as it is today? We've been doing things this way for a long time. What can I do today to improve the lives of my people? And we know from everything we've seen in the past and the research that we do that once you do that, you will improve the experience for your customers.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on our show and sharing your insights with our audience today.
Amazing. I really appreciate the opportunity.
All right. And thank you to our audience. Stay tuned. There's more.